Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, blocking email? Please don't. Beset on all sides by idiots. Except the client in an unlikely turn of events. When the user is smart enough to configure a firewall but not smart enough to know how it works. Once again, check for dumbest and most obvious reason first. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Blocking email? Please don't. One of my jobs back in the early 2000s was running an email server for an academic department at a university. The department had been the first to have email and an internet connection, something that had been done way before my time, but some senior researchers thought it was important to keep our own identity rather than migrate to the campus-wide system. Our campus network group was struggling with security and was implementing various fixes, including complex ACLs at the network boundary. At some point they asked all the systems people on campus to provide IP addresses for all outward-facing servers and what ports needed to be open so they could block traffic they didn't like. I actually ran a firewall between my group and them, so I used my rules to make a quick list and send it to them. Nothing happened for a while, but then I started getting reports of mail traffic seeming to be throttled. I started checking our mail logs and actually caught an instance where inbound traffic stopped except for mail servers that were on campus. I checked with the network guys and finally got someone who explained they were trying to implement an ACL for port 25, but our mail server should be allowed. I explained what I was seeing, they agreed to check into it, but they were just testing. For the next week or so the interruptions would randomly happen, I would call them to complain, they would apologize. I requested numerous times that they notify me anytime they were testing, so I could give them instant feedback that their ACL was broken and help keep my users off my back. I couldn't get them to agree to this, but hey, I tried. The incidents tapered off after a while, so I figured they had figured it out, or maybe given up. Then one Saturday one of my more vocal users called me at home. He was not receiving external email. I SSH and start poking around. I can see we are not getting traffic from outside, and it looks like we haven't since the previous night. I call the emergency number for network problems. Tech calls me back, but he has nothing to do with the ACLs, he's there in case there's a major outage or something similar. I discuss with him, he takes my home number and says he'll escalate. I say fine. I get a call, pretty quickly, from the main networking guy, MNG. I tell him what I'm seeing. MNG, I want to be clear that this issue has nothing to do with our ACL. Me, I'm not saying it is, I'm saying it looks like the ACL, but maybe it's something else. MNG, okay, as long as we're clear on that. Me, maybe you could disable the ACL for a second to see if anything changes. MNG, it's not the ACL, I'm not going to do that. I'm tailing my mail logs in one terminal window. While I poke around, I can hear him typing in the background. Every once in a while he asks if anything changes, I tell him no. After about 5 minutes he stops asking me if I've seen any change, it's all quiet on the phone. Suddenly I see my mail logs show traffic from outside. Me, hey, it looks like it's okay, let me check. I send myself email from an outside account and it gets delivered to my department account. Me, hey, thanks MNG, looks like it's fixed. That's great. What did you do? MNG, I disabled the ACL. Me, can we leave it disabled until Monday? When was it turned on anyway? MNG, ACL guy turned it on Friday night, he didn't want to disturb folks during business hours. Me, maybe testing should be done during business hours? Just in case? MNG, yeah. I'll talk to him. MNG sounded kind of depressed, but I was just happy to have the problem solved. MNG was one of the most responsive and capable people on campus, so there was not point in doing a superior dance. He felt bad enough about the incident. It took me a while to get the whole story. The ACL in question was apparently huge, and they were entering it all on a command line. Very easy to make a mistake, at least that was the reason they gave me. It was clear they needed a better tool than a switch ACL. I think they were able to get funding for a real high bandwidth firewall after this. Beset on all sides by idiots. Except the client, in an unlikely turn of events. Happened today. The events that unfolded made me feel quite literally like my heart would burst, and my head started aching with a sort of cold rage. So, I shall be working for Company A, and the other shall be Company B. Client contacts me, saying that they lost their document and just applied for a replacement at the site of Company B. The two issues are that the tracker says it happened 90+ days ago, and so can't be tracked, and that the fee was 28 arbitrary units of money for some reason. Alright, first things first, the tracker is just wrong, mostly because this site was made by Company B, which is just about the worst IT company ever in the history of the universe. So bad that I, at Company A, have to inform them as to what their services do, and how they work, when I ask for help with fixing them. The bigger issue is the fee. 28 is a familiar number, so I check. Yep, it used to be 28, but the law changed it at the start of this year, to 8.5. I even checked with the head of the department who are in charge of knowing this specific thing, and she agreed as well. Alright, two possibilities is a single glitch, or worse, but entirely possible considering that Company B is involved. They did not notice the change in the laws that their services must observe, they did not update it, and they have been more than triple charging people for half a year now, and this is the first time someone brought it up. Alright, I can handle this, reassure the client, ask them to send in the data so we can have this investigated and fixed. Great. Not half an hour passes and I am contacted by a very reliable and knowledgeable colleague who asks me to check out an email. I assumed I messed something up, so I check. Nope. It's the email from the client. Some guy who I never even heard of sent out an answer saying that the guy in the chat was wrong and it is 28. The client even replied, thanking him and noting how I was wrong in the chat then. Just in case, I ask, and colleague confirms that no, I was correct. The colleague who made the mistake is apparently a hire so new, I have never even seen his name before. I have no idea what the hell he was even doing, handling that email, as it was not even part of his skill set. I am rather miffed, to say the least. Fine, the client sent a duplicate. I am busy right now, but transfer that over to my main skill set, I'll get to it ASAP. Just in case, add a note explaining that 8.5 is the correct value, and it has to be forwarded to Company B. Not 5 minutes pass when I check, just in case. The contact has been answered, with a nonsense answer, that I already correctly answered in the chat, by the way, by the same guy. At this point, I was more than a bit miffed. Not only is some complete noob, who probably only plans to stick around as a summer job, questioning my competence, he is also not even bothering to read the available email templates that show he is wrong. Or the information database we have that would also show it. Or even the contact history, to see what was discussed in the chat, or even to notice that he has already answered this exact email. Or just, ask someone to make sure. No shame in that. So yeah. Not taking responsibility or saving asses for that tragicomedy of errors by trying to fix it, called the superior who was stupefied by the sheer degree of incompetence on display from both Company B and the colleague. Another experienced one happened to pass by at the time as well, who was also just staring with a sort of morbid curiosity at this train wreck. About the only silver lining in the whole matter was that unbelievably, the client was the best bit of this whole ordeal. Also, the slice of pizza I stuffed into my face hole afterwards to calm down. When the user is smart enough to configure a firewall but not smart enough to know how it works. The company I do desktop support for has 2 VPN connections. One is for a work-supplied device which gives them full functionality, and the other is a split-system tunnel connection on their own personal device that allows them to RDP to a device on the LAN. Recently, due to COVID and the influx of people working from home, we have started doing support for personal devices and connecting to them to the VPN and RDP. 99% of them have been due to their firewall blocking the RDP port. I get that most people have no idea and need help allowing it through. I had one caller who was a nice lady and put me onto her partner as he is my computer literate. Me, hi, what issue are you having? Him, we are able to connect to the VPN, but cannot RDP or connect to the PC at her office. I checked and the work device is online, ping able etc. Me, no problem, I can connect in with logmain to see your device and see what is happening. Him, nope, that won't work. My router will block it. Me, are you sure? I can at least try and see if it works. Him, no, it won't work. I have set up and configured my VIP reception firewall so I know what is allowed in and out. My firewall will block it. Thinking to myself, logmain uses port 443, so I am very sure he hasn't blocked that. Me, okay, so in my experience it's most often a firewall issue. Can you disable your firewall for just a minute and test it? Him, no, I am not doing that. It's not a firewall issue. I can connect to other devices fine. Me, other devices? You're able to connect with the remote desktop app? Him, no, TeamViewer. I can use TeamViewer fine, so it can't be a firewall problem. Me, okay, well, TeamViewer uses a different port than remote desktop, so it's possible that it is just blocked. All you have to do is disable it for a minute and tell me if it connects. This went on for a few minutes, and before I gave up. Me, if you don't want to do any testing, I am afraid I can't help you any further. We provide limited support for your own devices. Him, okay, fine, I have just turned it off and will show you that it still doesn't work. A few seconds pass. Him, okay, that is weird, it connects now. What have you done? Me, nothing from my end, it was just your network blocking the connection. I gave him the default RDP number port, and he added the rule in his firewall. No issues once he turned it back on. Him, great, thanks for your help. Once again, check for dumbest and most obvious reason first. My parents had me facepalm so hard yesterday. They are both nearing 70, but they were engineers and are pretty good with computers and with figuring things out when they don't know something. So they mainly call me when they hit language barrier, neither knows English, and father's engineering programs set it as default on reinstallation, same with software for our old printer. Yesterday's call was about said printer. Old laptop refused to see it no matter what they did, including running installation disk. 15 minutes on phone and several WhatsApp photos later, I had to admit I can't troubleshoot it from work, and will come over in the evening. Whatever they needed wasn't urgent, so they had already left when I came and found the source of problem. 2 engineers put USB cable into Ethernet port and didn't question it even when it kept falling out, just put a notepad under it to keep it in place. When I called them, both said that they weren't 100% sure that it was right port, but thought that other would have corrected if it wasn't.